Hey guys, welcome back to MuscleMentor.net. I'm Brad Holm. This is Justin Harris, and we are answering some of the questions that we got on Facebook. So let's do the next one here. How Dante Trudel influenced Justin's approach to training, diet, sticking points to include the cheat meal at the fast food place with the high C to make the people currently dieting envious.
All right. Dante is a pretty big influence on me. Now, I know that Orange High C cheat meal he's talking about, it wasn't a cheat meal. This is me and a buddy, Mike Hickey, who I don't know if he ever watches these, but I haven't been in contact with a long time. He was my best friend for a long time. We lived together for a while, training partners. We actually, in 2008, set the all-time Michigan State powerlifting squat record with the exact same weight. We both set and tied the record. He's a good guy. He injured his back playing football in college, really bad. Had multiple surgeries, tough situation. But anyway, we didn't know any. This is why I got into nutrition. To be honest, we didn't know anything about nutrition. No one in our town trained. We trained at Birchwood Athletic Club, which was like a racquetball court. They call it courtrooms. It was just bunch of. There was a small little weight area. There's no weight program to think of in the whole. I mean, the whole town. No one trained. We were the only ones. So we had nothing. We had random magazines, and Mike wouldn't look at the magazines because it made him feel small. So, and he didn't want to read something like he wouldn't believe in overtraining, or he didn't want to believe that, and he thought if he didn't read about it and didn't know it existed, it didn't. And
I like that.
In large part, that was the same thing with Steve Kukla. He didn't know you were supposed to get weaker on a contest diet, so he just didn't. Sometimes ignorance is bliss. But we read that you needed to eat more calories to gain. We were 16 years old. Neither of our parents had any background in nutrition or science or anything, so we didn't know. So we thought, let's get some protein calories. So after every workout, we go to Coney Island and we get 4 Coney dog, a large Coney fry, and an Orange High C. And neither of us liked Orange High C. This was like the mid-90s when nutrition labels first started coming out, and we saw that had the most calories. Yep. So we didn't like Orange High C, it just had the most calories. And so that was, I was 100 and, I wrestled 132, I was 135 pounds my junior year, started my junior year. By the end of my junior year, I was 185 pounds, but by the end of my senior year, I was 240 pounds. So I gained, from junior to senior year, I gained 100 pounds.
Fuck you.
And it wasn't lean at all. And that was partly why I got into nutrition, because I was really strong, really big, and I just didn't look like a bodybuilder. But that's where that came from. As far as Dante influence, I really respect Dante for his views and his thoughts. He really kind of sits back and observes and makes good thoughts about the industry. Dante and I actually got off on the wrong foot accidentally. I don't know. It's hard to come across. I don't know if I have a kind of a sarcastic sense of humor or what, but sometimes I think it doesn't come across well on the internet. I'm really never serious, and never on the internet, but it's hard to tell that, I think. And I think we were on maybe anabolics or something years and years ago. And dog crap training was just coming out, and he wasn't trying to push it. He wasn't trying to create a training system or sell anything. He was just talking about the way to train, and people were, ripping on it and saying, trying to find faults in it. And so I came on in his defense, or I thought, and I said, guys, it's not rocket science. He says, he's telling you to get stronger and eat more food. How are you not going to grow from that? There's no, if you double your strength and eat double the food, maybe you're going to get bigger. There's no other option. You can't get smaller in that case. But the way I worded it is, I said, it's not rocket science. He's telling you to get stronger and eat more food. What do you think's gonna? And well, he PM'd me because he thought I was ripping on it, saying like it was like a not well thought out plan or something. And I was like, oh no, that's not what I meant at all. And then we kind of became friends from there. But I think Dante, let's say. It's hard to say influence, and I don't want to say he didn't influence me because he's been a very important part of my knowledge and growth in bodybuilding. But by the time I met him, I had already been training 8 years, and I had kind of already stumbled on a lot of the same thought processes. I don't want to say same thought. I just liked lifting heavy and getting stronger, and he kind of formulated it into a nice, detailed, organized all those thoughts. And so, and he's got a lot of, he was the first on the waxy maze. I remember he sent Steve and I we were trying samples, and I remember I think it was sample 11. It was Waxy Maize 11, and this stuff was amazing. I mean, it tasted like battery acid. It was completely undrinkable. There's no way. I mean, to where you developed like a total conditioned taste aversion from the first sip, where you would vomit trying to get. But that first one we drank, it was like all the Milos plasma expanders and things like you'd read about, like all in one. We were dieting when we took it. We would take the drink, and it would suck so much water into the bloodstream, your skin would get flaky and dried out, and it was amazing. It's amazing. So, you know, I'm emailing Dad, like, this is the sample. I said, it's undrinkable. It's absolutely terrible. I don't know what it is, but I mean, I've never been so full. It's like every drop of fluid in my body went from the skin into the muscles. Well, it turned out it was a filler for wood glue. It was still an amylopectin base, yeah, but it was not food grade, and it was a filler. So we couldn't go that route because people probably would have died. Luckily, we didn't. It was amazing stuff, but so we ended up trying the sample of Waxy Maize that became the original Waxy Maize. Dante was on the forefront of that. The thing is, there's nothing. Weightlifting's been around for 100+ years, so there's nothing that's what Dante gets a bad rap because with the stretchers and stuff. They say, well, Perillo was doing it first. Like, guys have been stretching since the ancient Greeks. You know, I mean, this is just a new spin on it. He's adding weight to the stretch. You know, and same thing with high intensity. You know, Arthur Jones, Mike Munster were doing. No, this is a totally different approach. This is a multi-set. This is the rest pause thing, and I'm sure someone else was doing rest pause before that. I remember rest pause being different, though. I remember reading about rest pause in like the early to mid 90s, and it was like 1 rep pause, and doing like a 12 rep set that way, all sets of 1 rep. Dante, I think, was the first to kind of break it down. And the thing I like about the rest pause is that it's the problem with bodybuilding and strength is that a stronger muscle, well, there's a number of problems. I'll go off on a tangent here, but a stronger muscle tends to be a bigger muscle. The problem is a 1 rep max muscle becomes more efficient in different ways that don't require a larger tissue volume. And so the strength area that's required for bodybuilding is kind of like the 10 to 15 rep range. I mean, it's more of a time under tension thing, but for most body parts and most exercises, that's kind of the range, which is why you'll see all top bodybuilders, they're not doing sets of 4 like you'll see local gym rats doing. Everything's 10, 12, 15 reps. Well, Dante found a pretty cool way to get you to do sets of 11 to 15 reps where you're still training very heavy. And there's minimal breaks, but there's really not enough for your muscle to fully recover. It almost feels like one long 15 rep set, even though you're breaking into 3 sets with the rest pause.
With a heavier weight than you originally
exactly. Yeah, and I thought that was, and some of the things I will say, as far as influence, Dante single-handedly brought my back up from probably my worst body part to my best body part in the mid-2000s, and it's back down to probably my worst body part again. I have very wide shoulders, but I had difficulty developing my lower lats, and I'm really shoulder and arm dominant, so it was really difficult to train my lats without hitting my rear delts and biceps. And you see, my rear delts even overpower the rest of my shoulders. They're just I can easily pull things with my rear delts as opposed to my lats, and over time they get strong enough where they become the prime movers. Well, Dante showed me the seated low rope rows, which I haven't been able to do for a long time because there's a certain type of seated row. The seat needs to be long enough where I'm able to sit on it to do it properly. I've been doing them on my current gym, but I stand behind the seated row and it just doesn't work the same. But it's a really unique exercise where it's a seated row with the rope attachments, but rather than arch your back like you would think you would, you actually are rounding your lower back. So it's a row that almost puts your humerus in the position of a pullover. Nothing hit my lats like that. And that exercise alone, I think, doing Widowmakers with it, I attribute it to my back going from an average body part in 2006 to, there's a picture I see, one of my prouder moments, I guess, as a bodybuilder is I still see getting posted as a picture of me doing a lat spread on my back porch before the 2007 USAs. And so that was a big influence. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I've even answered the question now. But as far as diet is my own thing. There's some things I've differed with Dante on that. Dante was a extremely high protein guy, and he does. It's not an opinion. He's got legitimate scientific reasons and a backing for it. I disagree on some basis of that, as far as the backing off carbohydrates at night. Some of the I've gone away, not for the young kids. I've gone away for adult bodybuilders pounding food just to pound food. I think you need to be a bodybuilder year round and look like a bodybuilder year round. But one thing and this is where the Orange High C thing came up in another video years ago where I was talking about Dante, is that there is a problem, is that when there's a certain time and place, especially when you're young, where you do need to just put on size. And it makes it very difficult to come back into your next contest after that, because you end up adding more fat. But you look at some guys, like a guy that comes to mind in the early 2000s, Lou Joseph, that Dante worked with. Was just a monster freak from Canada. Got a little too fluffy, but that's kind of required when you're doing what's needed to add 70 pounds of muscle in a year. And that's the hardest thing, is that it's that first show after gaining all that weight where you have the extra body fat to lose. That contest prep is really hard. And so if you're going to be a good competitive bodybuilder, sometimes you need to take that back off step, just add the size, get a little sloppy, and bring it back under control. You can't consistently do that, because the problem is, as much as we want it to be a muscle contest, competition bodybuilding isn't a muscle contest, it's a body fat contest. And there's even all the way up to there's only a handful of people on the entire planet Earth that are muscle bodybuilders. And those are your top 6, 8 at the Mr. Olympia. Everyone outside of that is not. They're just shredded. And you look go to any pro qualifier, in the light heavyweight and the heavyweights are the best bodybuilders. There's very few true peeled contest ready super heavyweights, which means even at the top level of turning professional, most guys are still under 200 pounds in true bodybuilding. So bodybuilding is a body fat contest, not a muscle contest. But went way off track there. But we get a lot of Dante questions, so maybe this was something people could glean something from.